What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Coach Sean's Kitchen. So it's barbecue season. It's time for us to do another barbecue recipe. So today I'm making pork belly burnt ends. That's right, we're taking the stuff that you make bacon out of, we're slow smoking it, we're gonna caramelize it, and we're gonna turn it into the most delicious morsels you've ever had. You're not gonna wanna miss it. This is Coach Sean's Kitchen. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode. It means the world to me that you enjoy watching them. So if you're here, you know the drill. Smash that like button. Please tell a friend and share this video. It makes a huge difference to the YouTube algorithm. Let's kick off our pork belly burnt ends by making our own barbecue rub. Now, if you have your own favorite rub lying around, feel free to use that. But I love creating my own because it gives me a lot of control over the exact flavor that I want for my barbecue. So all of my barbecue rubs basically start with the same 4 ingredients: a sweetener, salt, pepper, and paprika. After that, your choices are pretty much endless in what kind of barbecue rub you want to create. Today, I opted to use garlic powder, onion powder, chili powder, cayenne pepper, as well as some ground mustard. And holy crap, I loved it after the first taste. This never happens. So I was incredibly happy with how this rub came out. Now, let's move on to the pork belly. So the reason I'm making this recipe today is because I have a crap ton of pork belly lying around. Every time I make bacon at home, I like to trim it up so that I have nice, clean, and straight edges. This means that I have extra pork belly that I food save until I've got enough to make a great barbecue recipe. And today, I decided to do those pork belly burnt ends. So what I'm gonna do to this pork belly is I'm gonna cube it up into about 1 to 2 inch little cubes, something that resembles a burnt end bite. Now, since pork belly has such a higher fat content than brisket, these are going to considerably shrink down when we cook them. So what I'm looking for is something that's gonna be about 50% smaller than this cube that I can eat in about 1 to 2 bites. So once my pork belly is finished cubed up, I'm gonna begin liberally seasoning all sides. I want every bite of this pork belly to be coated. And this is something that's gonna take some time, but it's entirely worth the effort. So a question I get asked a lot is, why do I always use gloves when I'm cooking in the kitchen? I'm washing my hands and it's my food, so why does this matter? The answer actually comes down to cross-contamination. Every time I go to reach for something new, I'm reminded that the gloved hand is the meat hand, and this has come into contact with raw food. And it's a subtle little reminder to not go reaching for everything in the kitchen. So now that our pork belly has been liberally seasoned on all sides, I'm gonna move it to a baking rack that I've put into one of those aluminum disposable pans. And a good reminder that you should probably keep one of those baking racks set aside for only barbecue. Else, you're gonna end up with some pork belly in the bottom of your muffins. Oh, and by the way, have you tried my muffin recipe yet? Now that these are prepped and ready to go, it's time to head out to my Traeger. So today, I've got it full of cherry wood and it's rolling at about 250 degrees. So I'm just gonna pop this pork belly on there and I'm gonna let it go for a good 3 hours. I want it to cook until it's a nice deep mahogany color. So after 3 hours, I went ahead and pulled my pork belly off the Traeger and they look great. But if I could do this again, I would probably give them another 30 minutes on the Traeger. Rain was rolling in and I was getting a little nervous that I was gonna be barbecuing in a thunderstorm. But now that I've got some good smoke and color on my pork belly burnt ends, it's time to move on to braising them because I want a really tender pork belly bite. So I'm gonna put down a double layer of aluminum foil and then I'm gonna layer the pork belly burnt ends in a single layer on the bottom. And now we need to consider some braising liquids. Normally this would be a great job for apple juice or cherry juice, but since I'm trying to cut out a lot of the carbs in this recipe, I opted for some more savory juices. So I poured in some of the drippings that came from the pork belly and added some Worcestershire and soy sauce along with some homemade chicken broth. Then I'm gonna tightly wrap these guys back up, put them back into that aluminum pan just in case we have spills, and I'm gonna go back out to the Traeger, for another hour. I bumped up the temperature to 325 because since they're wrapped, I'm not too concerned with smoke flavor getting in. I just want these guys to be incredibly tender. So it's been another hour and you can see these guys are looking great. So the last thing I wanna do is I wanna glaze them to give them a nice, sticky, caramelized exterior. So normally what you would use is a barbecue sauce here, especially a low or no sugar one if you have it lying around. I didn't have any of that lying around, so I opted to use some Primal Kitchen ketchup, a little bit more Worcestershire sauce, some Tabasco, and then a little squeeze of honey for some sweetness. Remember, low carb doesn't mean no carb, and 1 tablespoon of honey across pounds of pork belly isn't gonna kill you. So we'll take our pork belly back outside and we're gonna leave it uncovered for about 30 more minutes until the outside of all of those pork belly burnt ends gets nice and tacky. So let's see, it's been 4 hours from start to finish. Let's see if it was worth it. These burnt ends came out phenomenal. Great color, a wonderful tacky exterior. They were so tender and reminiscent of all of those childhood barbecues I had growing up. You can see the sauce tacked up really nice. I can't wait to make these for some friends. As far as how it tasted, it successfully joined the so good it made me want to dance club. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of Coach Sean's Kitchen. If you did, please like it and let me know in the comments what you want to see next. Maybe another barbecue recipe, or perhaps we can do another one of those keto baking recipes. Thank you so much for joining me, and just remember, you can make anything homemade and healthy.